Hey all, Brent here with a little anime primer on Trigun, very popular series over here in America. I want to tell you basically what it is, where it came from. First off, it was a manga by Yasuhiro Naitao. So there's Trigun. This is the English release of the manga. It was serialized starting in '85, I believe, or maybe in '95. 1995 going through 2007 in various versions. And fairly popular over in Japan, and just popular enough that they got the money to do an anime version. And turned out Madhouse was interested in doing it, so Madhouse made a 26 episode TV series of Trigun. Significantly rearranged the plot with with Naitao's support. I mean, they basically sat down with him and said, we need to, we're going to rearrange it because the manga was not ended by that point. They said basically we need to find some way of making a 26 episode storyline out of this. So here's how we're going to restructure it. He was totally cool with that. In fact, he said that their plot was better than anything he could have come up with. And it's basically a Wild West sci-fi story. So it's this sort of, you got cyborgs and so forth, but in this sort of Wild West world. And the interesting twist is that the main character, Vash the Stampede, is an absolute pacifist. He refuses to kill in any situation for any reason. In this very dangerous Wild West world. So the question becomes how he is able to do that. And the series starts off as pretty much a straight comedy, an action comedy, basically. And starting to deal with this question of how Vash is going to deal with these situations and not get caught. He's a wanted man. He's done a lot of damage. And how he's going to avoid getting caught without killing anyone, basically. And that's goofy for a while, but it starts getting increasingly serious. So the first half of the show is basically a comedy, and then it gets increasingly serious. The last couple episodes have really no comedy in them, essentially at all. It is entirely a dramatic, character-driven story. And that ultimately is some of the controversy of Trigun. A lot of folks didn't like it because of that sort of dual nature of it. They came in for a comedy and it turned out to be a drama, or vice versa. Trigun also has distinctive characters, memorable characters. Nicholas D. Wolfwood, a priest who carries around these giant guns. That is a gun, in fact. Lots of other, just very, very memorable characters in it. And it is very much a moral show and manga. It is the show particularly. It is about these moral questions. When do you defend somebody to the point that becomes vengeance? I mean, what does vengeance mean? What is defense? What is caring for somebody? And how far do you push that before it turns into something bad? So Trigun came out in, I think it was 2003. Let me just check my notes here. I'm sorry, the anime came out in Japan in 1998 and wasn't particularly popular in Japan. I mean, it was okay, but it just never really found much of a fan base. So that was fine. And then in 2003 it was released in America, did very well. It found a pretty big fan base over here. So big, in fact, that to this day, you cannot go to an anime convention without seeing at least one person cosplaying as a character from Trigun. Even more than that, Madhouse recently decided to go back and do a Trigun movie, a full-length animated Trigun movie, and they're trying to make it look like the original cel-drawn anime, which is kind of interesting. Doing a good job from what I can see in the trailer. And they're doing that because of the continuing interest in Trigun over here in America. I mean, I think if that wasn't there's no way they would have done the movie. But because there's that, they know it'll sell in America as well as in Japan, so it's coming out, and they're getting all the same crew, all the same cast coming back to do it. So that's awesome. So that's really Trigun. I mean, it's more a big thing over here in America than it ever was in Japan, at least the anime, and it is definitely a classic in American anime, and that's really what it is, and it'll be fun to see what they pull out for the movie. But it really just was this little thing that was of surprisingly high quality, and that really just came out at just the right time, and found a lot of fans of a deservedly remarkable show. So that's Trigun.